Okay, so in this video, I want to talk a little bit about writing assignment number 1. And one of the features of this assignment is to do a reader response paragraph in addition to the summary paragraph. So your summary paragraph is really about the article and the article alone. It's summarizing what that article is about, and that's it. The reader response is a little bit more broad and less narrow or specific. The reader response is you as the reader, how are you responding to this article or to this topic? So it's a lot more broad and, self-reflective and a little bit more loosey-goosey in terms of just what you can talk about or what you can or cannot include. And style-wise, you still want to keep your language formal and everything like that, but you can be a little bit more self-reflective and use I if you want in the reader response, because you're the reader and it's your response. Every reader is going to respond a little bit differently to the topic or to the article. So I want to know your opinions or your thoughts on the article or on the topic as a whole. So these are just a few of the questions that you might address. Oops, noticed a little spelling error here. But, you can pick and choose which one of these apply or can apply to your interests. You don't have to address them all. That would be too much. But pick and choose, these are just some ideas to sort of spark your writing for the reader response part of this assignment. So the first question, why did you pick this article to read for writing assignment number 1? So you might say, I was interested in the topic of blank. Or you might say something like, it was not the discussion of food in residential schools was not something I knew a lot about before. So this article really introduced me to this topic, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, you want to really reflect on, maybe why you selected that article over the other ones. If you could relate to the topic personally, you might explore that. But again, I don't expect you to, dig up your trauma or anything like that to put in the reader response. You might just reflect on what you know or don't know about the topic, or what you learned specifically, things that, were surprising to you or that, changed your point of view on the topic. You might note what findings or details in the article helped you to understand the topic. So you might pull specific info or ideas and say, hey, it was really interesting on page 93 when the authors talked about this finding, blah, blah, blah. So you're sort of picking and choosing specific things in the article that you noted when you read it as being interesting or enlightening or something that you hadn't thought about before. You can use I in this paragraph. So the reader response can be written from first person perspective. So it's a little bit different from that summary paragraph in that way as well. So what's the most important finding? Why was it important? What do you remember most about the reading? Did you make any connections between the article and other texts, news stories, media? Was there any new concepts or words that you learned from the reading? So yeah, new information, new words, new concepts, anything like that. If you had to pick an important quotation from the article, which quotation would you pick? So you might include that quote, that direct quote within the reader response itself. And it's a good idea to sort of show me that you know how to quote correctly and cite it with the brackets. That's something that I'm going to be looking for in your writing going forward throughout the semester. So can you quote properly? Can you cite using MLA style? So this is a chance to sort of practice that as well and get a sense of how to use MLA style of citing. What keywords do you associate most with the article? Why is this topic relevant or timely? How does it affect me or us? In Saskatchewan or in Canada. How will you apply what you've learned from this article to your everyday life? you may or may not. Do you have any questions that remain after reading the article, and would you want to do further research on this topic? So any of those questions could be explored in a little bit more depth in your reader response part of the assignment. If you have other questions or ideas for your reader response and they're not included in this list of questions, feel free to go on your own tangent and explore some part of the article further, or question it in a different way. You could even disagree with parts of it if that was something that you wanted to do, or agree or disagree, or make note of how this has changed over time, or how it might impact people today. Anything like that would be reasonable to include in a reader response. But it's really about the reader, so you as an individual, and exploring your thoughts. You might explore your own position or identity in relation to the topic. So you might say, I've come from a privileged position as a white woman living in Canada. I haven't had to experience the hardships faced by Indigenous children throughout history, and specifically the residential school system. So you could also do something like that, where you kind of explore your identity in relation to the larger topic. And yeah, it's kind of really open-ended. So there's no really wrong way to approach a reader response. It really is up to the individual reader and how you want to explore your thoughts on this topic and on the article. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I could also, take a quick look at your draft at any point and just give you maybe my little, feedback on where you can make improvements. If you're not sure how to quote properly, something like that, it's always a good idea to reach out to me or the teaching assistant, and we can give you a little bit more guidance and feedback on the little things that you might stumble on, such as, what do I include in the brackets, or how do I arrange my quote within the paragraph? Anything like that we can help with. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help.